आज का एपिसोड एक बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग एपिसोड होने वाला है। मैंने वो चीज एक्सपीरियंस नहीं की है। इट्स ऑल अबाउट पेरेंटिंग। वेलकम टू द मानव शो।
Hi, Manav. It is so amazing to be here on this show. And like you rightly said, I'm going to talk to a person who has not experienced parenting today.
Right, and it's a very different topic for me also because I have not been a parent, always been a child through, but have seen parents and my parents treating me and how different parents work upon the child. So let's see how it goes about. It's going to be very interesting. Before going into parenting, let's talk about your background and how did you start your preschool's jump start. You have several schools across Pune and one center in Bangalore. So how has this journey been? How you started a preschool?
So, this journey is very interesting. If I had to answer this in one word, it was by chance.
Okay.
I have done my post graduation in management. So, I am an MBA finance postgraduate. During our project, we had two options to work either with a company or start something of your own. And that's when I thought that, let's do something of our own. I was engaged, was going to get married in 6 months, and my husband told me, why don't you start a preschool? The moment he said, why don't you start a preschool, something inside me moved. Because as children, we've all engaged in pretend plays, right? आपने भी खेला होगा घर घर डॉक्टर डॉक्टर टीचर टीचर like my favorite play used to be teacher teacher. So the childhood pretend play, that make believe play, just came to surface. So the moment he said, do you want to start a school of your own, I was like, yes. As a child I always wanted to be a teacher, and my childhood pretend play continued till grade 5. Usually preschool age में खत्म हो जाता है, but mine continued till grade 5. I used to call all my friends, make them sit. I used to be the teacher. So the moment he uttered the word preschool, I was like, yes, this is what I always wanted to do. Why not? And that's how I chanced upon preschool. But I didn't have the necessary qualification to start a school. So after my post-graduation in finance, I did a diploma course in early childhood education, and that's how I got into preschooling.
So when was the first school that you started in?
It was in 2009. It's been 15 years since you started the preschools.
So while setting up your preschool in 2009, was it challenging at that time?
It was, because I was not a parent myself. I was like, just going to get married, my first year of life in a new role, that of a wife, and also that of an owner of a preschool. Freshly passed out of college. It was challenging because I didn't have any work experience earlier, and it was my first venture. So I always call Jumpstart as my other baby.
Right.
So Anna is my first child, Jumpstart is my second child.
Okay, so going forward, when we talk about preschools, it involves a lot of things and like talking to the parents, talking to the small kids. So, what is the one important thing? There are many preschools. How Jumpstart is different from other preschools?
That's a wonderful question that you've asked me. If you give me the chance, probably half our podcast would be on Jumpstart. But in short, if you ask me how Jumpstart differentiates itself from the other preschools, the first and the most important thing is the experiential learning. What we do at Jumpstart is we allow children to actually touch, feel, see, and do things by themselves. So it is not the passive way of learning where you just show things to children and the children are supposed to comprehend things. Here the children are allowed to experiment, touch it, feel it, learn from their own experiences and reflect back on those experiences. So we are an experiential learning school. So that's the first differentiating thing. The second differentiating thing is our parent partnership, because we believe that it's not only the school's responsibility, neither just the parents' responsibility. The school and parents both need to be on the same platform for us to bring the right development in children. So there are a lot of events inside the school which just work on parent partnership so that we can partner together and bring a strong, resilient child in this world. So these are the two differentiating factors. One more thing is our school is not a typical 3-hour, 4-hour school, because the moment we think of preschools, we think of, just बच्चा जा रहा है 2 घंटे खेल के आ रहा है. No, our preschool is a 360-degree program. The school is for 6 hours, even for a 2-year-old. So these factors differentiate Jumpstart.
Okay, so you said about parent programming and these parents जो भी आपके पास आ रहे हैं अभी Gen Alpha, Gen Z's के parents हैं, तो इनके मेजर प्रॉब्लम्स क्या आप सुनते हो इनसे कि क्या प्रॉब्लम ये फेस कर रहे हैं आज के टाइम में?
So the first and the most important problem that they experience is screen time.
Yeah, right.
It's not only the Gen Alpha facing screen time, it is obviously all of us, millennials, Gen Zs, baby boomers, everybody I think is experiencing this one common challenge, that is screen time. And the second topmost challenge is meal routines. So most of the parents feel that their children are not having enough nutrition, or they're distracted while having food, or they take a lot of time to consume meals. So partly it is also because meal times are in parallel with screen time. So children nowadays are watching screen and eating food. So meal time and screen time are the topmost challenges that parents are experiencing.
So what do you suggest for this? Because it's a never ending problem. बच्चे खाना नहीं खाते, खाना खिलाना तो जरूरी है. एंड मैंने देखा है कि फोन लगा देते हैं फिर वो खाना खिला रहे हैं. सब जगह यही है. तो इसके लिए सोल्यूशन क्या है?
First is we become a role model.
Okay.
Right? Eventually, children are observing and learning from us. So they're observing what is happening in the surrounding, and children learn more by seeing rather than we talking to them.
Okay.
So you might give them lectures, you might tell them what is right, what is inappropriate, but children are eventually going to observe you. So you become the role model. If you are distracted while having meals, if you're constantly on calls, then the child is also going to do the same. The next thing that we need to do is control the environment. So we have to draw boundaries as parents that you cannot show screen during mealtime. During meal times, children have to be in the present moment, in that now moment while consuming meal, and feel the meal while eating it. Smell the meal. Like use all the 5 senses while consuming meals. If we do it, children will do it.
Right. वो फिर 32 times chew करो.
Exactly. जो पहले बोलते थे हमें कि prayer बोलो, फिर सब फैमिली में एक साथ खाना चाहिए. So all those were bonding activities which in a fast-paced world, everybody is so busy. We have forgotten about those values and virtues. I think mealtime can be perfect family bonding time for everybody.
So talking about today's children जो अभी न्यूबॉर्न हो रहे हैं, सब हो रहे हैं, और हम जब बॉर्न हुए थे हमको तो मस्त थप्पड़ दिए हैं, मार खाई है, हम सब ने खाई है. बट आज के जो पेरेंट्स थोड़े प्रोटेक्टिव हो गए हैं, जैसे वेस्टर्न वर्ल्ड में रहता है एकदम पैम्पर करके चाइल्ड को वो आगे लेके जा रहे हैं. सो डू यू थिंक देयर इज बीन अ शिफ्ट बिटवीन देम about the parenting that was earlier जो हम जिसके थ्रू गए and अभी जो parenting हो रहा है?
100% shift. So I call that as the overbearing style parenting. इसका मतलब क्या? Parents बच्चों का रास्ता स्मूथ कर रहे हैं. लॉन मोअर पेरेंटिंग बोलते हैं. लॉन मोअर कैसे लॉन क्लियर कर देता है, वैसे ही पेरेंट्स बच्चों का रूट क्लियर कर रहे हैं. They are finding solutions to children's problems. Earlier, our parents used to tell us, go figure it out. You're bored? Figure it out. You'll find it by yourself. Now, if the child says, I'm bored, the mother or the father rushes to find a solution to the child's boredom. If the child says, I don't want to eat this, 10 other options are given to the child. So what we are doing is, we are smoothing the child's journey, because of which the child is not learning from their own mistakes. Now, this child as an adult is definitely going to experience challenges in life. What would the child do then? The parents were there to support and guide, but what about when the child grows and actually experiences that situation? What parents need to do is be the guiding light, but make sure that the child learns from their own mistakes. Don't make the journey smooth and easy, but just be there, support them, guide them. That is the major difference that we experienced and what the Gen Zs are doing now.
Okay. As you said कि parents बहुत smooth कर देते हैं life को. एक चीज मैं यहाँ पे बोलना चाहूँगा कि especially dads, now you have a daughter, right? And talking about dad or any man, उसको daughter चाहिए होती है अपने life में. अभी मेरे को है नहीं, but we still imagine कभी सोचते हैं तो daughter चाहिए होती है. And जब dad आते हैं, they are very protective about their daughters. And फिर daughter कुछ भी बोले ना, they just go and do it कि भाई करना है, इसने बोला है तो we have to do it for them. They keep them as princess के जैसे उनको treat करते हैं पूरा. तो उस situation में क्या करना चाहिए?
So actually girls को ही नहीं, आजकल boys को भी prince जैसे
तो mom करती है
treat करते हैं. No, you have to love your child unconditionally, no doubts about that. But there is a thin line between treating them as prince, where you listen to all their commands, instructions, And the other is you just support them, you're with them, and let the child figure out their own worries and problems. With this, the child develops faith and confidence in themselves that, I'll be able to do it. And in that sense, the child, the girl or the boy, will be the real prince in real life.
So can you share any example जहाँ पे आपने एक पेरेंट्स जो आपके पास आए हो with their child and उन्हें एक इशू बताया हो कि ऐसा इशू आ रहा है, we are not able to give solutions, मतलब स्क्रीन टाइम बढ़ रहा है, ऐसा कोई एग्जाम्पल आपको पता है, कोई पेरेंट आपके पास आया हो and you try to solve their problem?
I almost meet 5 to 10 parents every day where they have one or the other challenge. But the basic underlying foundation common problem, the superficial it is screen time, meal time, the parent is not able to understand how to communicate with the child. There is major communication breakdown or barrier that the child experiences. Now, at preschool age, it comes in the form of tantrum. The parent is talking to the child, and the child throws a tantrum once the demand or the wish is not fulfilled. As the child grows up, there is back talk, the child not listening to the parent. And that's where the parent ego is shattered. The major problem child that the parent experiences is, my child just doesn't listen to me. I don't know how to connect with my child so that I develop that meaningful relationship or bond with the child. So that are the major underlying foundational problems that the parent experiences.
Okay. So talking about parents also, there are many challenges that come up daily. तो ऐसा कोई challenge जिसका आंसर आपके पास भी ना हो, या आपकी डॉटर ने पूछा हो, या प्री स्कूल में कोई बच्चे ने आपको बोला हो? क्योंकि बच्चे लोग कभी कभी कुछ भी बोल देते हैं, दे आर लाइक हमको आंसर दो. तो ऐसा कुछ आपके साथ हुआ है कभी?
ऐसा होता है ना बहुत बार. Children are curious, they're born curious. Every child is very unique, special and different, and they are exploring the world. Not everybody has it all figured out, right? So it's best to be very honest with the child in that situation. If I don't know the answer, the easiest way to communicate with the child is, I don't know about the situation right now, but wait, I'll find it out and come back to you. So ऐसे होता है, जरूर होता है, with parents, with children, with team members also for that matter. The best way is to be as honest and as on the face with the parent, with the child, or with the team member.
So going forward, talking about preschool specifically, and इतने जल्दी जब बच्चों को स्कूल में डाल रहे हैं at the age of 2 years, 1 year, it's their foundation year. मतलब वहाँ पे उनके रूट स्ट्रांग होते हैं, एंड यहाँ पे जो वो चीजें सीखते हैं, that makes their base एकदम स्ट्रांग, कि फिर उसका पर्सनालिटी वैसा बनेगा आगे जाके. तो आपके ऊपर एक बहुत बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है. एक तो होता है पेरेंट्स से सीखते हैं, एंड एक तो होता है वो स्कूल से जो होता है वो सीख के जाता है. सो इस टाइम पे यू हैव टू बी वेरी केयरफुल. तो आप ऐसे क्या स्ट्रेटेजीज इम्प्लाई करते हो कि जो बच्चा है उसके बेस, उसके रूट्स बहुत स्ट्रांग रहे, बिकॉज ही इज गोइंग टू, उसकी पर्सनालिटी अभी डेवलप होने वाली है. सो व्हाट आर योर स्ट्रेटेजीज फॉर देम? लाइक,
You are correct. So when you said the foundation is being formed, scientifically, 90% of the brain is getting developed in 3 years of age. So as a newborn, the child is just born with 25% of the actual brain size. At 3 years, it grows to 80%. At 5 years to 90%. Until 8 years, which are the preschool years, 97% of the brain is formed. What we are struggling with is the remaining 3%, right? So when 97% of the brain is being formed during the first 8 years, we have an immense responsibility to ensure that we are forming the right foundation for the child, because these children eventually are going to be the future of our world. So what does Jumpstart do, or what does ideally a preschool should do for such children, is we need to preserve every child's uniqueness. We need to give them an environment where they can explore, where they can learn from their 5 senses. We need to give an environment where the child feels safe. The child feels seen, that people are noticing me. Secured. So safe, seen and secured is the primary feeling that the child should get for him to raise as an emotionally stable adult. So 2 things that we need to do is create an environment where the child can learn by himself, and the other thing is make the child feel safe, seen, soothed and secured.
okay, as you said about environment, talking about couples, abhi it's a newborn baby, it's a new responsibility, both the couples are working, they have their career to take care of, and there are many times कि couple के बीच में argument हो जाता है in front of the child, and it affects the child also. So any advice for such couples जो झगड़ा कर रहे हैं अपने बच्चों के सामने, and it's very common आज के टाइम में because arguments होती है हर couple के बीच में, they talk about it and टॉप ऑफ द वॉइस चले जाता है, कभी लैंग्वेज यूज इम्प्रॉपर होता है व्हेन वी आर इन एंगर। तो उस टाइम पे कैसे इन लोगों ने अपने आप को एज अ पेरेंट स्ट्रांग बनना चाहिए कि चाइल्ड को अफेक्ट ना हो बिकॉज ऑफ द लैंग्वेज, बिकॉज ऑफ द एनवायरमेंट दैट यू सेड अबाउट?
So, Manav, you're absolutely correct when you say that the child is affected when parents argue or they raise their voice. Because think from a 2-year-old point of view, or maybe for that matter, a 12-year point of view. Their parents are their world. They mean everything to the child. They are the child's superheroes. Now imagine those two superheroes fighting amongst each other. It's going to shake the child from inside. The trust on a loving relationship is getting hampered when parents argue. But does that mean parents will never argue? Obviously, we'll have difference of opinion. The best thing that you need to do is, even if you argue in front of the child, you need to tell the child later that this was a disagreement that we were having, but that has not shaken our love for each other. And you need to make up with each other in front of the child. So the arguments are happening in front of the child, the makeup also has to happen in front of the child for the child to know, yeah, they argue. Like I also argue with my friend, I also have a fight with my friend, but then I get back and start playing together with my friend. So here you argue, you should avoid though, but even if you argue, you need to make sure that you're making it up in front of the child and letting the child know, don't worry, nothing between us has changed. We love each other like always, but yes, we have our sets of disagreements at times.
Okay. So if we talk about the child also, and talking about both the couples working, like to maintain a work-life balance and giving equal time to their career also as well as to their child also, ऐसा नहीं हो सकता कि सिर्फ डैडी काम कर रहे हैं या आई मीन द मेल फिगर इज वर्किंग और इधर द फीमेल फिगर इज वर्किंग, बिकॉज स्पेशली इंडिया में जब चाइल्ड होता है, अभी तो भी ट्रांसफॉर्म हो गया, बट इट वाज लाइक मॉम ही पूरा ध्यान रखेगी, बट नाउ द टाइम्स आर चेंजिंग. So how do you want to tell these two persons who are working individually to maintain their career and also to take care of the child?
So obviously, if parents need to work, they need to go out and work. Okay, they need to maintain their individuality as well. As in, sometimes it is for income, but sometimes it is out of passion also, right? The child in the end is saying that, you know what, my parent is so passionate about what he is or she is doing. So once you become a parent, that's not the only role and responsibility that you have. You have to fulfill other roles and responsibilities as well. But if you have got a child on this planet, you also need to give enough time and make sure that you're raising the child in a very conducive learning environment. So what you need to do is not spend quantity time. That doesn't mean you have to be with the child 24 hours. It means you spend quality time. When you are with the child, you're just with the child. You are there without any distraction. So no screen time. Your phone is flipped or basically out of the room if you're with the child. So you keep that aside. You're there with the child, making eye contact and just listening to the child, understanding what the child needs. If the child says, let's read a book together, even if you don't like reading, sit with the child and read a book together. The child should feel my parents were with me completely. So that quality time is more impactful than just being around and doing your own thing. So for working parents, what I would say is go out, do your work, but also spend quality time with your child. That your child feels my parents were with me.
Talking about quality time is very important because talking about today's world, children have started hiding their emotions with their parents because they are the one who gave you birth, they are the closest to you, and they are the ones who understand you more than anybody else. So अभी हम देखें ना तो लोग अपने पापा मम्मी से बात इतनी शेयर नहीं करते, बट आई थिंक सो कि करना चाहिए बिकॉज इट कम्स बोथ द वेज. बिकॉज अगर आप ही फ्रेंडशिप नहीं का हाथ आगे नहीं बढ़ाओगे तो बच्चा भी कुछ नहीं करेगा. जैसे मेरे केस में हुआ है कि विद माई पेरेंट्स आई एम वेरी फ्रेंडली, I can tell them anything. So do you think this should be a bond between each parent and a child that they become so friendly कि अगर डांट रहे तो वो सुन रहा है और सब कुछ बातें बता रहा है अपने पेरेंट्स को.
Totally. That's how it has to be. The thing that will make the relationship stronger between a parent and child is an open communication channel, right? The child should feel heard and listened to, and the parent should be able to express what he or she wants. With this ever distracted world, we first are not in the moment when the child is talking, and the child feels, oh, they're not listening. What's the point of telling them? Or even if the parent is listening, the parent is listening to correct the child. So the child is just sharing a story from school and the parent says, no, but you should not have done this, you should have done that. Or the parent is constantly directing the child, ऐसा नहीं करते, इसको ऐसा ही करते. Or ordering the child, ऐसा ही करो. So when you're constantly correcting, ordering and directing the child, you're not developing a bond with the child. You're not keeping the communication channels open. The child doesn't feel listened to. So the reason you have a wonderful relationship with your parents, and I've met your parents, so I know, is they spend quality time with you. They give a lot of time listening to what you have to say. They're so open to what you want to pursue and what you want to do. That makes the child feel heard and listened to, and that opens the communication channels. So it is always two-way. But instead of just talking, because once we become a parent, we feel this life that we've got on this planet is my responsibility. And I should, helicopter over that life and control the child. But it's not the case. Once you become a parent, it is more of listening rather than talking.
बट इन टूडेज टाइम ऑल्सो आजकल के बच्चों को स्पेस चाहिए होता है. सब लोग बोलते हैं, मीन्स माई फ्रेंड्स ऑल्सो, कि मेरे को स्पेस चाहिए, मेरे को टाइम अकेले स्पेंड करना है विद माई फ्रेंड्स एंड एवरीथिंग. बट दे फॉरगेट कि पेरेंट्स के साथ आप जितना ज़्यादा ओपन अप होगे डिफिकल्टीज में, वही आपके लिए खड़े रहेंगे. जैसे आपने मेरे पेरेंट्स की भी बात की, या टॉकिंग अबाउट अ ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स ऑल्सो, दे हैव मेड द फाउंडेशन सो स्ट्रॉन्ग विथ मी, एंड आई थिंक एवरीबडी शुड कीप इट लाइक दैट ओनली. बिकॉज जितना आप अपने बच्चों के साथ ओपन अप होगे, उतना आपको आके अपनी प्रॉब्लम्स बताएगा एंड उतनी चीजें आपको साथ शेयर करेगा. तो यू विल हैव दैट थिंग कि हाँ, मेरा बच्चा कुछ गलत कर रहा है तो आई कैन स्टॉप हिम एट दैट टाइम, आई कैन टेल हिम, बिकॉज वो मेरी बात सुनेगा भी. सो यू आर बीइंग अ प्री स्कूल के, आपने यू हैव बीन द प्रिंसिपल, ओनर, एवरीथिंग, एंड नाउ यू आर ऑल्सो पेरेंट. ओके, सो एनी पर्सनल चैलेंज दैट यू फेस्ड एज अ पेरेंट विथ योर डॉटर and how you handled it?
So as a parent, every day is a different day, right? And obviously there are challenges, lot of challenges. One challenge from the past that I vividly remember, when I realized, this is now not how I want to be. That moment of awareness where you feel, no, this is not me. This is never, ever going to be me. Arna was just 6 years old. Now she's 12 years old, okay? She started her grade 1. So after preschool, in preschooling, she was in Jumpstart only, and then she joined another school. Within 6 months after joining the school, the teachers called me to school saying Arna is not able to write. So she makes a lot of spelling mistakes when she's copying from the board also. Me being a teacher, running a preschool, being very fluent with my communication skills, writing and spoken, it was a setback for my parent ego, right? How come my daughter is not able to write so well? What's gone wrong with me? So I obviously took it personally, right? And that is what exactly happens with parents. When something happens to the child's problem, they make it their own problem. And I came back with vengeance, I have to be with her, spend more time with her, make sure that she writes effectively. So one of the evenings we were practicing spellings, and she was practicing the spelling of friend. On one sheet of paper, she must have wrote 4 different variations of friend. Friend, Friend. सब अलग अलग spellings मिले मुझे उस पे, okay? आधा घंटा नॉनस्टॉप उसको एक स्पेलिंग सिखा रही हूँ मैं, अलग अलग तरीके से, गाना गा के, लिख के, सब करके. But in the end, wrong spelling आ रहा है. I just lost my temper. And I made a statement, are you mad? Are you stupid? You can't even write a simple word like friend. Kya ho raha hai tere saath? And then she just looked at me and tears rolling into her eyes. She told me, Mama, I don't think I'm good enough. Mama, I'm not good. I'm bad. I can't do it, Mama. The moment she said that, I'm not good enough, I'm bad, Mama, something inside me moved, I felt, oh my god, my voice has become her voice. Now she's going to see the world with my voice. So every time a challenge comes in, the first voice that she's going to get is, I'm not good enough, I'm bad. And that was the moment of realization for me, and I felt, no, this is never going to happen. I'm not going to allow my voice to be her voice, and if my voice obviously is going to be her voice, it better be the most encouraging voice ever. So that was my moment of realization as a parent. And definitely, I experience challenges even now. Like yesterday only, she was having a discussion about how her friends are ignoring her in school. Okay. And she's like, Mama, this friend is ignoring me. As a parent, you want to protect your child, right? So my instant urge was, you ignore kar rahe. Like, it was like, I wanted to know more. Right. But then I had to stop myself. And I was feeling really bad for her. But then I had to make myself understand that she eventually will figure it out. I need to trust her. That's just a phase, and she'll find solutions to her own problems. All I need to be is a support, a guide for her, where I'm just listening to her. If she needs help, she'll come and ask for that. So there are a lot of challenges, but if you approach those challenges with moments of awareness that, you just have to be a guiding light for your child and not make your child's problem your problem, things become much smoother.
Right. As you said, when you shouted at your daughter, you got emotional. I saw it in your eyes. बट बहुत सारे इंडियन पेरेंट्स ये करते हैं एंड ये चीज रियलाइज नहीं करते. मेरे पेरेंट्स ने भी किया है. आई से इट इन द कैमरा कि बोलते हैं तू ये नहीं कर सकता, तेरे से तो होता ही नहीं है कुछ, तू आलसी है, तू लेजी है, तू नालायक है. ये सारी चीजें सुनी हमने. बट जो आज के बच्चे आ रहे हैं, अगर हम उनको ये सारी चीजें बोले, will their child psychology या उनका जो ब्रेन है उसको गलत वे में ले सकता है?
Yeah, obviously there are some neural connections which are formed and which stay forever. Associations, neuro-linguistic associations which are formed. What happens is, because parents become the primary caregivers and the most important people in a child's life, whatever the child is listening about himself or herself from the parents, from the teachers, from their friends, from the society, becomes their voice. Right. And that has happened with us also. The way we perceive ourselves is actually not how we perceive. It is how the world perceives. We have to break free from that shackle. And that comes only with awareness. When you realize that others' opinion is not my opinion. I need to take that moment, pause, introspect and see what I really want, what I'm really doing, how can I grow, how can I evolve, and take that voice as a feedback. So I'm sorry, I lost where we were, but what had you asked me?
So I asked कि जब parents हमको बोलते हैं कि तू,
does it affect the psychology? Yeah. It does. Because their voice eventually becomes your voice. So as parents, we have to become so mindful about how we are communicating to the child. How are we talking to the child? Are we creating that encouraging environment to the child is very critical and important.
Okay. Because our parents love, हर parent के लिए अपना बच्चा बहुत special होता है. मेरे लिए भी होता है. Cover up करता हूँ question पूछा. तो they love us, but genuinely they love us. But कभी कभी क्या होता है ना, उनका भी वर्क प्रेशर होता है, वर्क उनको हैंडल करना पड़ता है. कभी कभी वो गुस्सा चैनलाइज करके हमारे ऊपर निकल जाता है, क्योंकि हम उनको इरिटेट करते हैं, हम उनको बार बार पोक करते हैं कि मम्मी ये कैसे करूं, मम्मी ये कैसे करूं, मम्मी वो दो ना, मम्मी ये करो ना, डैडी ये क्या हो गया, वो क्या हो गया. तो ये जनरल सी चीजें हैं. बट एज पेरेंट्स वी हैव टू बी वेरी काम, जो मेरे को समझ में आ रहा है अभी तक आपने बोला. So how to bring that calmness? That is one of the most difficult thing. तो उस पे आप क्या suggest करना चाहोगे?
So when I'm talking about you have to be calm, right. Okay, it is much difficult than. Well, I mean, it sounds very, very easy, but very, very difficult to do, and it requires lot of evolution of yourself, lot of introspection within you. See, when your bucket is not filled, you're going to expect that bucket of love or care to be filled by the outside world. And subconsciously, we are expecting children also to fill our bucket. So when the child back answers, how can you talk to me like that? He's not respecting me. Somebody doesn't listen to you, your bucket is again not filled, and that's why you react the way you react. To be a calm parent, first is you have to show compassion towards yourself. You need to fill your own bucket, so that you stop expecting from your child to fill the bucket. The next thing that I have to understand is that the child's brain, the prefrontal cortex, the thinking brain, keeps developing till 25 years of age. Okay, so there is lot of energy that is expended in brain development inside the child, and we need to extend that compassion towards the child and let them understand that, you know what, you're doing a great job from within. Your brain is still developing. So I cannot expect him to react the way you want to react. So parents need to extend a lot of compassion towards the child and understand that the child is still developing. So, you know, the moment you understand that biologically brain अभी तक develop हो रहा है, पूरा नहीं हुआ है, because prefrontal cortex अभी तक develop हो रहा है 22, 25. In fact, 12 years को एक नया growth spurt मिलता है brain को. तो when it is happening, that's why we say teenagers are so irrational. ये करते हैं क्योंकि सब develop हो गया है. Parietal lobe, occipital lobe, but prefrontal cortex अभी तक develop हो रहा है. तो just extend compassion कि अभी brain develop हो रहा है. तो now I am the parent. She's just the child. Yeah. So that compassion comes in that case. And once the compassion comes in, you become more calmer. Yeah. Plus, obviously, like others say, it's so cliched. It doesn't work with me all the time, but still breathing exercises works for a lot of people. So, you know, just looking away, hand breathing in, breathing out, taking that moment, that pause, so that you can come with a lot of calmness back to your child always works.
So I would like to make a point here. My mom will see the podcast. मम्मी मैं अभी 24 साल का हूँ, 25 साल होने को 1 साल है. मेरा brain develop हो रहा है, कुछ समझ करो. Okay. So now when should a parent हमने इतनी बात की about how should we parent calm when the child is born and जब वो 1 साल का होता है या 2 साल का होता है, preschool कब join करवाना चाहिए?
As early as possible. Okay. But the government says that the child should come into preschool by the age of 3 years. Okay. But that doesn't mean you stop giving a nurturing environment to the child before 3 years. There are a lot of learning centers or creche or daycares or social setups. The idea is we need to take children to a social setup where they see other children interacting with each other. They get moments and opportunities to interact with the other child. Now, when this social interaction happening, language is also getting developed, right? Because at home, the child is learning the mother tongue. But when the child is put in a social setup, the child is learning the language of the social setup. So there are always wonders of putting the child as early as possible in a social setup. So the moment the parents feel confident that, you know, I am confident enough to separate away from my child and allow the child transit smoothly to a social setup, the parent should put a child in a creche or a daycare or a childcare or a learning center facility.
But still, if we say आपने बोला कि we can put it from as early as possible, but the grandparents बोलते हैं कि अभी तो इतना छोटा है, कहाँ preschool में भेज रहे हो? So how to tackle that issue? How to convince our grandparents? Because they think कि बच्चा starting में जितना family के साथ रहेगा, वो family के culture सीखेगा. एंड वी एज पेरेंट्स इफ वी डिसाइड कि मेरे को अपने बच्चे को प्री स्कूल भेजना है, बिकॉज इससे 2 चीजें सॉल्व होती है. एक तो सोसाइटी का जैसे आपने बोला लोगों को मिलता है, ही स्टार्ट्स इनोवेटिंग, क्रिएटिवली बढ़ता है. एंड सेकेंडली बोथ द पेरेंट्स आर वर्किंग, तो दे ऑल्सो हैव अ पीस ऑफ माइंड कि डे केयर में है वो, तो उस चीज से सेफ्टी भी है. बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स, दे आर लाइक फाउंडेशन एंड बच्चे का जो कल्चर है, इफ ही स्टेज मोर एट होम, वो कल्चर में वो अगर ग्रो होगा तो बेस स्ट्रांग होगा. तो ये प्रॉब्लम कैसे टैकल करनी?
So the first thing is the child is spending some amount of hours in the learning center or daycare, not the entire day. So whatever remaining part of the day the child is at home, obviously the child is again learning from the home environment. अभी बच्चा घर पे बैठ के करता क्या है? We are becoming smaller and smaller families, right? If you stay in a big society, wonderful. But if you're staying in standalone buildings, again, there are limited interaction that the child can have with other children. घर पे बैठ के क्या करते? As an adult, you cannot continuously entertain the child for all 12 hours, right? So what you will do is, when you want your me time, the easiest way to entertain the child is, बच्चा देख ले, अभी आधा घंटा स्क्रीन देख ले, आधा घंटा ये कर ले. And the child will constantly come and tell you, I'm bored, I'm bored, I'm bored. Instead of introducing screen to the child, it's best to put the child in a social environment. So that's how we can convince the grandparents maybe that, you know, you love your child, you want to give the values, do it when the child is at home, but for some time, let the brain get to that environment where the neural connections are getting formed. By learning, by seeing more things, more neural connections are getting formed in the brain, and with repetitive experience, they're getting strengthened. So it's best that you give a wonderful learning environment to the child. So this is what we can talk to grandparents maybe.
Okay, talking about learning environment, sports is also very important. So, at what age exactly they should start sports, especially maybe not sports, but running or outdoor activities, because that also makes your mind a bit sharper and it makes you fresh. So, at what age exactly they should a parent should put the child into any kind of sport?
So I'll talk first about preschool and then we'll go to the other age. Uh, Gross motor skill development, that is development of your gross motors, the bigger muscles, happens the moment the child starts walking. So it is very important to introduce the child to an outdoor setup as early as possible, because that's where the child is going to jump, run, crawl, walk, and that is strengthening their gross motor skills. So physical play is very important in early childhood, and that continues throughout the life. Um, so by 8 years, 97% of the brain is developed, and lot of development of the body is also done. So usually if you want to introduce any sport, that should happen after 8 years of age.
Okay, after 8 years of
Age, yes. So the child can just be introduced, play, but not in a competitive way or not in a way where you're judging the child's skills. For enjoyment, yes.
So you suggest that after he's 8 years, he or she is 8 years, you should introduce to
You
us
should start exploring, introducing the child to different sports.
whichever sports they like. And okay, so not in the earlier age, like
You can. So you can introduce swimming. You can introduce all types of plays, but not judge the child basis their skills. Not put pressure, because the child is still developing, right? So there's no point unnecessary putting that pressure when it is happening at its own pace.
Okay, so one last question. When a child is shifting himself from a preschool to elementary school, what would be a piece of advice that you would like to give to the parents?
So I would say keep your child in preschool.
Okay.
Earlier, why? Not that because I run a preschool. I just genuinely want to tell you that when it's a preschool setup, it's a very small, warm, welcoming setup. When I say it's a warm, welcoming setup, is there are only early years children from a specific bracket, from 6 months up to 8 years. The adult child ratio that is required for handling such children is high, right? So behind every 6 children, we at least need one adult to take care of them. This ratio is amiss in a formal school, a big school. So at least till senior KG, till 97% of their brain is getting developed, it's best that the ratio is maintained for their appropriate development.
Right.
And also in a preschool, the child can do things by himself, herself. There are a lot of opportunities for exposure and doing a lot of activities. But in a formal schooling, everything becomes very formalized, right? All of a sudden, the class has 30 children. There are 2 teachers. They're expected to focus on the academics, the writing skills, because eventually their preschool or early years is preparing them to enter into their primary school. So it becomes very formalized in a formal school. But having said this, if the child has continued the preschool till senior KG, when the child enters in grade 1, the things that parents can keep in mind is do a lot of communication with the child, do a lot of prior preparation, that even this big school is going to be a wonderful school. Be in touch with the teacher or the coordinator just to understand how the child is transiting and what all steps you can take from home. The best thing that you can do is prior condition the child. Let the child know even this school is going to be very warm, nice, welcoming. Everything would look big for you, but still it's all right. You're going to figure it out. Show that trust in the child that the child will be able to do it. So that's how you can transit the child.
Okay, that was a very good piece of advice. And talking to you, I think so. My parenting skills, without getting married or anything, it's become a little better. Means just thinking about it, got a lot of knowledge about parenting. And maybe when I get a child, whenever it has to happen, I'll surely take this point as an advice. जो आपने सारी चीजें बोली है, and surely jumpstart with देंगे.
Lovely, amazing.
Let's go to a little fun segment. That's our rapid fire. So I'll ask you some questions. So let me know whatever comes in your mind. We'll start. So one word to describe parenting in 2024.
Collaborative.
Okay.
You need to work together with the child.
Best parenting advice you ever received.
Mm, no parent has ever figured it out.
Okay.
All right. You're always going to grow, evolve, and learn.
Okay. What's harder, running a preschool or raising your own child?
It's difficult, but I think running a preschool, because raising a child, yes, you're doing it. In preschool, there are three stakeholders. There are parents, there are team members, and there are children. So there is compassion for all of them.
Okay. Favorite activity do with your daughter?
Listening to her.
Okay.
I think my favorite activity is just listening to her.
If you could give parents just one tip for keeping calm during tantrums, what would it be?
Understand that the child's brain is still developing and extend that compassion to the child.
One book you recommend to every parent.
How to Talk to Kids So That They Listen and Listen So That They Talk by Adil Faber. Amazing book. It changed my life.
Okay. One parenting mistake you're glad that you made it.
Mm. I think I didn't give parenting too much of importance. I kept my other roles in place and realized that becoming a parent is not the only thing. You need to take care of yourself, of other people, of your passion.
Describe your parenting style in one word.
Lighthouse parenting.
Lighthouse parent. That
I am like a lighthouse, guiding my child.
okay. Okay. Last question is one country or city that where you would like to have your own preschool in. A dream country or city.
Probably every country.
But any specifically one key happy, it's my dream to have
It would be Singapore.
Singapore.
Yes.
Okay. I've been in Singapore. The Singapore education system
It
is
is
the
amazing.
best.
Yes.
Okay. So we come to the end of the podcast. It was really nice talking to you, learning about how we can improve our parenting, also knowing about your journey, how you started Jumpstart. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Manav, for calling me here. And the best part is, without being a parent, your questions were bang on. So I'm sure you are going to, whenever you become a parent, lead parenting with a lot of awareness. All the best.
Thank you so much.